G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. Fun fact before we get into it today, the parents on the couch story still exists, and if you don't know that story, you should ask about it in the comments. Anyway, sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and let's get right into it, shall we? Our first story today, coming from user Lowfield2895, titled, I'm going to leave my fiancé for my boyfriend. 6 months ago, my, female 25, fiancé, male 28, asked if I would be willing to have an open relationship. I agreed. Everything was okay until like 3 months ago when he asked if he could switch from open to poly. I agreed again. He started dating a girl from work, and I started dating a guy from my gym. Now, this guy, male 26, is so different than my fiancé. He takes me on dates every week. He brings me flowers and food at work. He texts me just to say hi. He's sweet and affectionate. My fiancé, however, we've been together for 4 years. He only gets me flowers for my birthday. He's never affectionate. His idea of a date is playing board games or watching The Witcher. They are very different in bed too. With my fiancé, most of the times sex is a chore. He is fast and rough, and then he goes to watch TV. My boyfriend, however, is very tender. He takes his time and checks if I'm enjoying it, he cuddles with me after, and he brings me snacks. I was talking to my mum about this, and she asked me which one makes me happier, and I guess it clicked. I like the way that my boyfriend treats me, while my fiancé is more of a roommate at this point. After my talk with my mum, I decided to talk to my fiancé as well. I just told him that I wish he would be more affectionate with me. He just shrugged and said that he isn't into chick flick. So I guess I'm gonna break up with my fiancé because I don't want to marry a man that never takes me out or buys me flowers or holds my hand. Sing it. I want someone that shows their emotions. I don't know if me and my boyfriend are going to work out since it's still new, but at least now I know that I have options. I grew up around men that were emotionally unavailable, relatable, and most women in my family constantly told me that men are not affectionate, so I guess I kinda believed it. My first 2 boyfriends were like this as well. They didn't like showing affection, and my fiancé is the 3rd guy that I've ever been with. It feels good to know that not all men are like my mum made me think they were. I'm on my way to have dinner with my fiancé, and I'm going to call off the engagement. I would read the comments, but they seem to all be from after the updates. So, now on to the update. I was super nervous to have this talk with my fiancé, but apparently at dinner it wasn't just us. He invited his parents and didn't tell me. I wanted to have the conversation with him privately, but his mum started talking about the wedding. Cringe. She had a bunch of flower arrangements, dresses, and venues printed out, and she was going to buy a dress tomorrow. I got overwhelmed and ended up telling them that the wedding is off. I tried to be as gentle as I could, but my fiancé freaked out when I gave my reasons, that I don't feel loved, and that I want someone that shows their affection, and made a scene, so we were kicked out. He left to go home like 10 minutes ago. I'm still in the parking lot with his parents. They are trying to call him. I'm going to drive them home, and then I guess I have to get ready for round 2 when I get home. Update 2. We had a huge fight, and he confessed he only wanted to open the relationship because he wanted to sleep with his coworker without being a cheater, and then wanted a poly relationship because he developed feelings for her. Alright, that's my bingo. And he called me a cow for dumping him because I'm a big baby who needs attention. Apparently I need to grow up because real men don't get emotional. Update 3. My now ex-fiancé called and begged me to come home to talk because he's sorry and he didn't mean what he said. Blech. And because real men don't get emotional, he started crying when I'd said no and that he can call his girlfriend if he wants to talk to someone. Update 4. I talked with my boyfriend, and we're going to close the relationship. He was thinking about it for a while, but was afraid to ask, so he was happy when I suggested it. My boyfriend helped me move all of my things out of the apartment that I shared with my ex. My ex has called and texted me all night, and I blocked him because honestly, it kinda scared me. Ex's girlfriend came to see me at work. She was worried that I ended things because of her, and we talked for a bit, and I assured her that it wasn't because of her. We also talked about my ex and his lack of showing emotions, and she's now reconsidering their relationship because she also wants someone who shows their love, and she was thinking that he didn't because it was still new, and she thought that in time he'd get more comfortable. But after we talked, she wasn't so sure anymore. A lot of people keep saying that my boyfriend will turn into my ex. Why? Why do you think that? Do you have magical powers to see the future? And if he does, so what? I should stay in a relationship where I don't feel loved just because my next relationship will not work? Like I said in my post and in the comments, even if it doesn't work, at least now I know I have options. I also had a few people asking if my ex was always like this or if he changed. No, he was always like this. Now in the comments, relating back to the bingo card one, this little section here, he confessed he only wanted to open the relationship because he wanted to sleep with his coworker without being a cheater, and then wanted a poly relationship because he developed feelings for her. And now he wants her back because his coworker also said something to break it up. The ex then also tried to convince his girlfriend that she was the issue, not him. Dude's toxic AF. Are you winning, son? Every time, the person who suggests opening up the relationship is like this, and every time it winds up like this. Do they not read it? My ex-husband opened the relationship up, but it was more like swinging. I was so lost in all of it that I'm just now realizing what happened to me, and how horrible of a person he actually was. Reddit has been a big help. You need to grow up because real men don't get emotional? Says the guy losing his crap in a restaurant. A grown man having a big enough tantrum in a restaurant to get his whole party kicked out, then turning around and saying men aren't emotional. He's definitely not a self-aware wolf. She's growing up. That's why she decided to end things. She's learning how it feels to be valued and respected. Proud of OP. I hope she permanently raised the bar for acceptable treatment. Can't get much lower than leaving one's parents with the ex who just dumped you. Graceful he is not. Our next post is titled, My mum bragged about how she kept my dad out of my life. I grew hating him thinking he abandoned me. I, 19 female, grew up with a single mum. Growing up, I was always told that my father abandoned me. It happened when I was around 10 when I asked my mum about my dad, and she told me straight that he abandoned me. I cried so much that day, it's not a joke. As I grew older, I hated him even though I never met him. I thought about if he came back, I would scream at him and ruin him and attack him for leaving. Last week, my mum and I were at her friend's house, and I went along because I'm friends with her friend's daughter. Well, fast forward, I came downstairs and heard my mum say my name. She revealed my dad's name and said, "It's easy to keep a father out of a kid's life like what I did with Lena's, me, father, after I found out he cheated on me." She was also talking about how pathetic he looked when he pleaded with her to stay in my life. She also added how she used his old drug addiction against him in court. From how I understand, he was sober before I was born. Oh my god. I made contact with my bio dad as soon as we got home. The next morning, I got a reply and he asked for my number so that we can talk. The first thing my dad did when he called was apologize. He told me that it's all his fault. After talking with him for a while, I told him that I'd love to have a relationship with him. He lives not far from our city, only a 2-hour drive. As for my mum, she's at work. I sent her a text telling her about what I heard, and I'll be cutting off contact with her for a while, and probably forever. Edit, so I did not mention this in a comment about the house. I inherited my uncle's house after he died, and that is when my mum started acting weird. She believed that the house belonged to her and fought with my grandfather over it, but he put his foot down and told her that it's my house. Secondly, when I turned 18 and moved into the house, my mum came along. I didn't want to live with her again, but she told me that she'll cut off my college fund. Well, now my grandpa told me that he'll pay for my college. Also, more about my mum. When my parents split up, my grandfather told me that he doesn't support her decision to keep my father out of my life, but she told him that he will never see either. Also, my mum acts like my house belongs to her and always tells me, technically it's my house and should have been given to me. Edit 2. Another thing, my father quit drugs long before he met her. My dad confessed to this. On top of this, I was told by my grandpa not long after telling my mum that she's no longer welcome in my house, that my dad actually loved me with all of his heart when I was only a couple of months old. Apparently my dad also made it impossible for others to hold me. The next thing is that my dad did confess to cheating. I already asked my mum to explain her side, and she said yes, he did quit drugs long before he met her. However, that's about it. So far, all she wants is for me to forgive her. I did ask my dad for his side, and he hasn't replied yet, but he told me that he'll call me later. In the comments, Opie, I know Reddit is quick to say lawyer up, but this is a situation where one would be a good idea. You need to make sure that you protect your assets, as well as make sure that your mum hasn't been trying to pull shady stuff without your knowledge and consent. For example, either forging your signature or getting you to sign something under the guise of it being something else. Her saying, technically it's my house, when legally it isn't, who knows what other boundaries she's pushing. I would definitely get legal advice. That is an awful thing to do to your kids. I'm glad you made contact with your dad. It is never too late to work on your relationship with him. If my husband and I ever got divorced, I wouldn't keep him from the kids. That would punish my kids who are innocent. I don't get women like this. As a mother, I put my kids first always and do what is best for them. My ex and I now live far enough apart that a plane ride is necessary for us to get our child back and forth. There have been times, however, that he has flown down here for special events regarding our child. He either sleeps on my couch or in my child's room. He will hang out with us while my husband and I cook dinner, and often does all the cleanup after. He has even told my husband and I to go out on dates while he stays home with all of the kids. Our divorce wasn't easy at first, but we make it work for our kid. Unless their father was an active drug addict and/or wanted for horrific crimes, there is no reason to keep a willing father out of a child's life. It feels like she felt abandoned from your dad and wanted to ruin his life every way that she could think of. You were also a way to hurt your bio dad. Crappy thing to do since she told you that he abandoned you instead of him cheating on her. That is really terrible what she did. A child is a human being, not a pawn in a marriage. And now, on to the update. First of all, thanks so much for the support. I'm surprised my post got so much support, and I cannot thank you enough, but anyway. So, I met up with my dad at a restaurant today. He thought that it would be better to talk in person. I was shocked when I saw him. He looks to be in great shape, however, I could tell that he was crying. When I approached him, he pulled me into a hug, and he apologized a few more times for not being there, and that he really wants to fix this while he has a chance. We started talking, and there was much more to the story than my dad just being a cheater. So here it goes. During my mum's pregnancy, she constantly put my dad down. Like she would tell him, "You should be happy that you're with me and not some unimportant cow," or "You're not good enough for me. I'm just with you for the sake of our child." My dad said that he thought that it was just her pregnancy hormones, but then it got worse after I was born. Her ego was through the roof, but what really took the cake was when he said, "It's such a shame my daughter will probably grow up to be a failure like her father." I was taken aback by this. I asked my dad if that's the reason that he cheated, and he said no, he should have just called off the wedding, but instead, he cheated. He apologized a few more times and told me that he loves me and that he never forgets about me, and that when I texted him for the first time, he couldn't believe that it was me until he saw my profile picture. We both cried for a while until our breakfast arrived. Now, on to my mum. I just want to add that my mum started threatening me after I told her that she's getting evicted. But at first, it went from pathetic apologies to full-on threats. She told me that she'll ruin me if I abandon her and make sure that I lose everything. Anyways, after speaking to my dad, I wanted to see if my mum would confirm it, and she did, no shame. She admitted it like it was an effing achievement, with no remorse, may I add. And then she went back to sweet talks and back to threatening me. Someone told me that I should see if I can forgive her and probably go no contact. After today, I doubt I want anything to do with her. I also think she's the one who told all of my ex-boyfriends that they are not good enough because they all broke up with me shortly after meeting her without any explanation. I am done with her. My grandpa told me that he'll help me with the eviction and possibly a restraining order due to the threats. I'm going to visit my dad as soon as she's out of the house. In the comments, definitely restraining order, and don't fall for her BS threats. I don't think she's entitled to any of the crap anyway, but maybe talking to a lawyer would be a safe option. Seems like she's trying to manipulate you like she did your whole childhood about your pops. You got this. OP says thanks. Our next post is titled, I forced my wife to go to a party, and now my marriage is ruined. Me and my wife Kay have been married for 4 years now. We had an arranged marriage, but so far we have a good marriage and a strong bond. I love her and I would do anything for her in the blink of an eye. Before we got married, we decided that we will have our own individual space and we don't have to tell each other everything unless we feel the other person should definitely know. The arrangement went well for years. I didn't have much to hide or to tell, but she did. When I met Kay for the first time, she was a very conservative person and a bit too devoted to religion. She told me that she wasn't a good person in the past, but since then, she has tried to be a good person living a moral life. She told me some details about her past and how she was a wild girl in college and had several relationships and partners. Even after we got married, she would tell me some details about her past, but I never pressed to get details. She always refers to her college self in the third person, and whenever she talks about her past, she always says that her college self is a horrible person. Since then, she has been more devoted to religion and is quite different from her previous self. I've seen some pictures and videos, and Kay is nothing like that person today. Kay doesn't have a lot of friends, and mostly spends her time praying or with other religious stuff. I am the only person that she shares her thoughts with. A few months ago, out of the blue, she got a call from her best friend from college, R. I saw Kay light up after talking to R. Kay felt so happy after reconnecting with them, and they invited her to a party at her place. They also called up their other college friends. Kay was conflicted about going to the party. I convinced her to go, saying the worst that could happen is that she has a boring night. Kay asked me to come along with her. Even during the drive, I was thinking about getting some embarrassing and funny stories about my wife from her friends. When we reached R's place, I realized why Kay was conflicted. Kay was dressed very conservatively, light makeup and very little jewelry. Her friends from college were the exact opposite. They were dressed like twins going out to party all night. The night started normally about the girls sharing funny tales, but the stories quickly became raunchy and then horrifying. I found out Kay and R were the leaders of a group of mean girls. They slept around, abused alcohol and drugs, and on occasions ruined people's lives. Kay stepped away to go to the bathroom when the group turned to me and told me stories about my wife. R talked about Kay sleeping with most of the professors at their college, which I did know about but wasn't aware the number was that high. R purposely told me about how Kay and R systemically gaslight a woman into believing that she is a lesbian and ruined her marriage because her husband had rejected Kay's advances. And all the girls found this incident to be funny. I wanted to leave, but I couldn't find Kay. I went to the bathroom to look for her and found her curled up in a corner crying. I picked her up and left immediately. The entire drive back, Kay was sobbing and repeating, "I'm sorry." She was inconsolable for days, and then she threw herself into religion hard. She started praying for 6 to 8 hours every day. Her daily prayers and rituals usually took 2 hours. I thought that giving her space would help her heal, and she would talk to me whenever she is ready. We haven't talked much since then. She still cuddles up in bed, but doesn't say anything. Last week, she told me that she has decided to be celibate for the rest of her life to repent for her former sins. She asked for my support and apologized for springing it onto me. She has told me to leave her if I can't live a celibate life with her. I've tried talking to her about trying therapy, but she is adamant on her plan. I ruined my near-perfect life by forcing her to go to that party. In the comments, sounds like she might be having a nervous breakdown and using her religion to cope. Does your congregation, assuming she attends church, temple, or religious meeting, have a trusted figure that she could talk to? Maybe one who has a similar background, partied hard but turned away from that life. If Kay still won't talk to you, it may be worth seeing if she'll attend a meeting with them. I wish you both the best. OP responds, I'm trying to get their help, but it's not easy without telling them about my wife's past. I don't want to tell them as I don't know how they will respond knowing about it. I feel they might not help at all and might even leave Kay more isolated than she is right now. She needs therapy. I've heard of people with addiction issues swapping them with healthy behaviors, like 6 hours of meditating or praying. I'm not sure if this is what is happening, but she seems to be in the midst of a nervous breakdown. Maybe reaching out to the people she hurt and sincerely apologizing would help her more than solitary praying and make real amends. I would second this. She needs real therapy, not just a religious advisor. This is especially true if she is using religion as a coping mechanism. Someone should also let her know that sex is okay. Might not get this from a religious counselor. I don't think that you ruined anything. She might have changed, but still needs to deal with her actions. Unfortunately, she may run into her old friends or her victims later in life. She needs therapy and to learn how to cope. Maybe one day when she's at peace with herself, she can be some sort of mentor. She can give testimony and teach people from her mistakes. OP says she's already doing a lot to repent. She is an active member of groups which educate kids about the harm of drugs. Therapy seems to be a non-starter unless I physically force her to be in a room with a therapist. And now on to the update. Last night when we got into bed, I told her, I love you and I will wait for you to be ready for me. At the time, I wasn't even sure what I meant. I just had to talk to her. Her eyes swelled up with tears. I can tell she wanted to wail and scream, but was holding back. She grabbed me and didn't want to let go. She whispered, I love you. We held each other for the rest of the night. In the morning, I asked if she would just talk to a therapist. I assured her that I would try to support her decisions either way. She agreed and kissed me. We hadn't kissed in almost 2 months. I thought my wife was back, but a few minutes later she texted me from the kitchen, my celibacy doesn't have to mean yours. You are free to leave me. If you want to stay, I will not interfere with your physical needs. It killed me reading the text. We haven't said a word to each other since then. In the comments, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. She agreed to see a therapist, so hold her to that and keep your word that you will wait. I know it hurts, but keep talking to her and stay friends. She's kissed you, which is the best thing in 2 months. You got this. I see it the same way. She is clearly receptive to OP's feelings, and she feels the guilt for denying him intimacy, but she also clearly still has no healthy way to deal with these feelings of guilt, so don't give up just yet, OP. It's a very good sign that she agreed to a therapist, but also keep in mind that everything now is definitely a journey and probably not a short one. 2 steps forward and 1 step back is still progress. OP says, I think it's 1 forward, 2 back. My marriage is over. I just need to accept it. I still love her and I will wait for that love, but she has already let me go. The text message can mean, I feel like I'm a burden to you, so I'm trying to absolve you of guilt if you want to leave. This is exactly what the message means, OP. Just stick to your word that you'll guide her to a therapist. Hold on for a few sessions and see if there is any progress. I know it's hard, but I guess it's the only way, if you wish to keep the marriage alive. This absolutely screams self-destruction to me. She feels guilty about her past and unworthy of love, so she's pushing you to leave and prove her right in a way. Up to you if you leave, but I disagree that she'd given up or moved on from your marriage. I think this, self-destruction right now, physical needs can wait, and she really needs to find a way to forgive herself for who she was. Stereotypical Reddit answer is she needs therapy is one of the best ways to do that, and maybe it is, but try doing other things. Try dating again, go to the movies, get some dinner, go do fun things that she liked to do. Show her that she is more than her past mistakes and she can be herself now, but she needs to find a way to let go of that guilt. I'm not going to excuse prior actions. However, most of us have things in our life that we regret. Looking back and cringing or feeling bad about past actions means that we are growing, and this is life. We grow and we grow. And now on to the final update. Kay started therapy thanks to the efforts of some members of her religious group. She will need a lot of time, and I don't know if I will ever get my wife back. Everyone keeps telling me that she will get better soon, but I'm not sure if she would still be my wife when she does. Even if she does come back, I've heard things about her past that make it very hard for us to just continue our relationship. Some details make me feel that Kay doesn't deserve happiness. For now, I will support her to help her with her recovery, but I'm not sure what happens after. Oh my god, what did she do to make you say that? Jesus. In the comments, do what you think is the best option. Don't force things or do things against your will. It'll all be okay one way or the other. She deserves to find whatever happiness she can with a partner who has given informed consent to be with her, given her past behavior. If she can find such a partner. I personally think she probably can, but that doesn't change the fact that you aren't that partner. You were misled and misinformed, and this breakdown further provides you with evidence that this is not the healthy, honest person that you thought you had married. You would be well justified in protecting yourself and your future and leaving her to pick up the pieces of the consequences of her past behavior and, much more importantly, her dishonesty about that behavior. And that is where I leave you guys today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!